Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of the Worthiness Codes. I'm your host, Jaclyn Francis, and as always, it is so beautiful to be in the space with you today. I know it's been a little bit. I don't think I've put up an episode for the past couple of weeks, and there is a reason for that. I have been navigating one of the most difficult breakups, relationships I've ever gone through. I'm 34 years old. I've had many relationships. I've been in love a handful of times, but what I've realized is I don't think I've been in love truly until now. But also, what I'm learning is that the more that you work on yourself, you grow, you expand, especially when it comes to the heart space, that frequency of love changes, of course. So I can say that I don't think I've been in love, but I've been in love that's in resonance to those past versions of self. Within this relationship, my heart cracked wide open, and I've never experienced love as it feels within this connection. So today's episode, we are talking about karmic cycles. And this is nothing new. If you guys have been listening to my episodes from the very beginning, I don't like to label things, especially when it's within the spiritual world, spiritual labels, and in relationship. And the reason being is because it ties yourself to a specific narrative. It gets the ego worked up, and it really makes you think something is what it is, when in reality, it might not be the case. So the most important thing is to always trust yourself. That's what all of these experiences within love are about. It's trusting yourself. It's allowing yourself to grow and evolve and heal and go within, because the experience is what your truth is telling you it is. So with that being said, my intention is to, again, not have you label whether you're in a karmic relationship or not, because that doesn't necessarily matter. What does matter is your ability to deepen your self-awareness, to become aware of karmic cycles that are playing out within relationship. Because the container of a romantic relationship is a portal into incredibly deep growth when you are ready for it. And the thing is you're not going to become aware of these cycles until you are ready to learn the lesson and to evolve from the lesson. Your soul is going to repeat the same lesson time and time again. This is often why we step into relationships and we're like, this is familiar. This seems like the same type of partner I'm always attracting, and I don't understand why. It's because you attract people that resonate at the same frequencies, at the wounds that you hold within. So the karmic partner, the karmic relationship, again, we don't have to label it, but that partner that you're experiencing these highs and these lows and really trying to identify what is happening, it's because you're ready to evolve. And if you're listening to this episode today, your soul is pinging you to become aware of the cycles, become aware of karma, become aware of your own patterns and lessons and wounds, so you can walk away from the relationship, so you can do the work that's needed, so you can integrate everything, evolve, and not receive the same type of partner that's just wrapped up in an entirely new way, because that's what happens. We receive the same type of partner in a different human body to teach us the same type of lessons until we learn them. And oftentimes, what these cycles are trying to show us and teach us is rooted in self-worth, is rooted in self-love. And you're going to get a partner that amplifies those wounds, who feeds into knowing that you're an overgiver or a people pleaser, right? So just know that this episode is an invitation for you to sit and reflect. Reflect on the current relationship that you're in, if this is something that you are feeling might be the case, past relationships. And the reason why it's so important is not, again, to label something and to be like, oh, I'm experiencing a karmic relationship. Maybe it's a twin flame. Like that, none of that matters. But it's because when you are ready, when you are truly ready for the next version of self to emerge, so you can live life from there, the universe is going to push you into that place, oftentimes without you necessarily wanting to, right? This is all written before we get here. We can get super, super, super spiritual and talk about contracts, sacred contracts. Every relationship you step into is a sacred contract meant to be fulfilled. Now, if we look at these contracts within these quote unquote karmic relationships, again, they're meant to teach us a lesson, but they're also meant to break karmic bonds. So if we just take a step back and we look at karma and identify what karma is, typically how we refer to karma is your actions will dictate certain consequences. And that's why we're taught the golden rule, and we're told that, how you treat others or the actions that you take within your life are going to provide certain people and experiences and outcomes within the remainder of your life. And yeah, that's true, but there are different layers to karma. And we accumulate karma through all of our lifetimes. And that karma carries over. So if you think of your soul, your oversoul, as an infinite energy, the karma that is tied to your soul is probably really large. But you're going to come into this specific body with certain aspects of your soul that are tied to certain karma, because that is what you're meant to heal and navigate and learn and awaken and shift within this lifetime. And that karma is directly tied to your dharma, right? You have to break through all of the karmic patterns and wounding and lessons to then be able to really step into your dharma, step into what you're meant to fulfill within this life. So we have karma that's tied to other lifetimes. We also have karma that's tied to this lifetime. And the karma that's tied to this lifetime is just thinking the actions that you do are just adding into that, we can call it bank of karma from past lifetimes that's carried over. The way I see it is that the actions that are adding to that karma is most likely very similar to the karma that's tied here from past lifetimes, because it's showing you on repeat, okay, like this is what you're meant to work through. Karma also is not just your actions, right? And like I said, it's typically how we think of it is our actions reflect back to us what we will receive. So karma is not anything outside of yourself. And yes, it can be between two people, which I will get to in a minute, but karma is from within, right? It's the wounding, it's the patterns, it's the lessons. The karma that is between you and another, that's typically what is going to be amplified within these relationships, because you have the karma that is individual to your soul that is going to be mirrored and amplified through the partner that you are meant to heal. At the same time, there is going to be a karmic bond or karmic debt that the both of you are meant to complete. And it's through that completion of your own individual healings of karma, but also the karmic debt that allows you to stop the karmic wheel from turning, to end the cycle, close off the contract, and evolve. Now, karmic debt. The way I'm going to speak to this is I like to think of the karmic debt as like the overarching lesson that it doesn't even have to be a lesson. It's like the overarching theme or action or emotion that needs to be healed and shared within that connection. And when you can do that, that's when the contract will be closed. So for example, say forgiveness. Forgiveness is the karmic debt that is owed. And it's not just one person forgiving where the other person doesn't. It's both of you coming together to not walk away with arms up in flames. What's that saying? Arms up in the air. When you're like really mad. I don't know what that saying is. But to really allow yourself to be emotionally mature, to come from a place of love, and to forgive, and to hold that forgiveness as you walk away. And again, the debt, there can be many layers to it. It's all depends. It's all different on the specific relationship. But what's important to understand is once you become aware, you cannot miss the cycle once you become aware of it. And you will see it play out so clearly to where when your self-awareness deepens and you can see things that are way past the surface, this is when you really step into your self-mastery. This is when you're like, okay, yeah, life is literally not what I ever thought it was. And so when you can start to see the cycles, you will know when one's about to happen. And you may enter into the relationship without any awareness of what it is. And that's most likely the case because it's going to start with this like deep magnetic pull, a like divinely fated meeting, deep attraction, deep love, and then the cycles will start happening. The wounding will be amplified. And so when you can begin to say, okay, it's most likely going to take a couple of times, especially if this is the first time you're becoming aware of, oh, I might be in a relationship that's trying to really get me to heal something specific. It's to take note that the cycle is starting and allow yourself to fully move through that cycle without judgment, without control, and really allow yourself to sit and learn and heal. But you're not going to be able to change the cycle. The cycles are happening from a level that's way past our human understanding. Again, they're rooted in karma, which is just energy. So when the cycles begin to happen, take note of it. Explain it to your partner. You were meant to work through this together. This is not just a one-sided thing. Your partner is not open to it. You're the one who's most likely going to cut the cycle. The both of you can cut the cycle together. That's typically the goal. Again, it's not the same. It just depends. But if you're the one that's aware, you're the one that's going to be able to close out the cycle by walking away or doing what's needed to be done to get that cycle to close. I just want to check my notes because I want to see if anything else wanted to be said. As I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, excuse me, I am closing out what I feel is a karmic relationship. And I've been in a karmic relationship before, and I sat with this the other day, and it was my relationship before this one. The love wasn't as deep. It was much longer in human time, 4 years versus like 4 months. But the lessons were the same. And my understanding as to why the lessons are repeating themselves is I might have learned them, and I believe that I integrated the majority of the lessons because I went on a very deep inward healing journey after that relationship. But I believe what this relationship was showing me was even further lessons, but it was much deeper. So it was like the same lessons at surface level that I could like identify from the beginning, but there were many, many more layers to it. So as you go through this journey of awakening and of healing and self-discovery, what happens is healing isn't linear, it's cyclical. Also, there are many layers to your trauma, to your patterns, to your wounds. So as my self has deepened, right? I've deepened into my truth. I've expanded my heart. I've become way more connected to my soul. The need to understand the patterns and the lessons and to integrate was also at a deeper level. So the way that it had to be served to me was in a way that I could not miss it. I could not bypass it, but it had to be really difficult. And the reason why I say it had to be really difficult because of how much heart expansion was involved within the same container. So, and this goes really deep. I'm still very much unfolding and working through this. And this is something that's so sacred to me. So I'm only going to share what I feel called to share. But just know that it's a can be a very difficult process. Incredibly difficult process. I had to have someone hold space for me the other day because of how much confusion and difficulty I've been struggling and having with this. And her reflection to me, she asked, "Is your heart done?" And I had to work through it and really, really work through it to understand if my heart is done or not. Because I reflect this to you. If your heart, and this is what she told me, if your heart is not done, if there is that longing for to be in that relationship, it's because you're not done learning the lessons that you're meant to learn. If your mind is done, if your human is done, and you follow that instead of your heart, you can walk away. You can break the cycle in a sense, but the lessons and the moving on and the healing is going to be it's going to be residual. It's going to be much harder. And I thought that reflection was so important, especially at just to be able to navigate this, because so many times when we become aware of our conditioning and our wounding and our patterns, our ego will come in and be like, "Oh, I know I'm meant to understand self-worth. I know I'm worth so much more than what I'm receiving. I'm not going to sit around and wait for this to change. So I'm done and I'm going to walk away." And though that's beautiful, right? To an extent, when it's something where you're meant to learn and your heart is tugging you to continue, you have to follow your heart. And it's different for everyone. That doesn't mean to jump back into the relationship. Maybe that just means to not walk away just yet and to maybe just take a step back and continue to work through things, however it looks. And I'm not saying to jump back into a relationship that's super toxic. Don't do that. If you feel like the only thing that you can do is to leave, then leave. But if your heart, because again, how deep the bond is, how painful the hurt feels from the separation, that pain, that hurt is also tied to longing, right? It's tied to your heart's not being ready. It's not ready. And she said, when you're done, you'll feel an immense amount of peace. Like, okay, my hands are clean. I learned what I needed to learn. It's time to walk away. And I completely understand that. And that's what I'm working through right now. And I'm reflecting this to you pretty much in real time as I mean, I've been going through it for months, but I'm reflecting the process at the end to you in real time because it's still very much unfolding. And I like to be transparent. I don't want to sit here and say, this is how it is, this is what it's not, because nothing is black or white. Everything is based on your own truth, your own experience, your own soul. So I can't tell you what's wrong or right, because that's just not the truth. The truth lies within you. But I'm reflecting this to you, and as it's coming up, to give you a really profound inside look of, okay, like what the stages are, how this can feel, what it can look like, so you can relate. Because I know I've been on this spiritual path for over 7 years now. And the past couple of years is when I really started to awaken and deepen, and my self-awareness has really, really deepened. And to be in something where you're very aware of what's happening, but spiritual narratives come in, your ego comes in, your heart's involved, your soul's telling you one thing, it can be really confusing. And that's a whole other test lesson within itself. But truly, no matter where you're at on your journey, you will be tested, because evolution is infinite, right? Consciousness is infinite. Your soul is infinite. So the deepening of lessons, the deepening of expansion, it can be, no matter where you're at, it can be confusing. And that's why it's always important to ask for help, to ask someone to hold space for you, to help you move through it. Because the point of healers and spiritual advisors, especially those, and I do this work as well, but those who are doing the work on themselves, we're most of the time just mirrors for you. And that's why it's important to ask for help, so we can help you see your blind spots. Because you have blind spots. I have blind spots because the ego gets involved. And you can be aware of the ego, but the ego can attach to something so strongly where it's not going to let you shift from that narrative. So if you are feeling resonant with this episode and you are in a middle of a relationship that could be karmic, and this doesn't have to be romantic, I'm talking to it through the sense of a romantic container, because that's most likely how they are experienced to this depth. Know that you are in charge. You have the power to stop that karmic wheel from turning. You have the power to stop the cycle. But again, it's not attaching to a label. It's not listening to your head to walk away before it's complete. It's a balancing act of your heart as the navigational force, your soul as the overarching eyes for the journey, and your ego for the lessons that you're meant to learn, to understand. So it's a balancing act, and in this balancing act, you have to stay neutral. Because when you can become aware of like the heart, the soul, the ego, it can be overwhelming, and you can be like, I don't understand why. I know it's done. I'm ready for it to be done, but my heart's still in it. So stay neutral. Allow yourself to surrender to the experience. And again, surrender does not mean stay in a toxic relationship. Surrender means to allow it all to unfold. And this isn't a permission slip for you to identify a relationship that's not for you as karmic relationship because you're too afraid to move on. That's a toxic relationship, right? It can be karmic, but the karmic is tied to the cycles. So use your discernment. Use your discernment. Only you know your truth. I can sit here talking to you about this all day long, but only you know your truth. So know that there is an end. Know that you are not meant to rush the end. Know that you are not meant to try to change the cycle through control, through the ego. You're meant to fully see the lessons, learn the lessons, sit with the pain, sit with the healing, feel it all, because it is going to be painful, especially when it's in the heart, and allow yourself to move through it, to integrate, to not bypass, because you will continue repeating the same thing time and time again. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Instagram or through my website at Jaclyn Francis, jaclynfrancis.com. I'm also now on Substack. I don't know if I've said that on here, but I felt called to step away from social media and really allow my creations, my art, my words to be expressed when they want to come through, not follow a certain algorithm, not show up through the need of validation. And so that's what Substack allows me to do. So I've been putting stuff up there. And yeah, I am here to support you if that's in one-on-one sessions as well. If not, continue tuning into the podcast. I love you. I love you. I love you. Until next time. Bye.